opportunities and realities. And for this, and for this panel discussion, we have amongst us today Rishikesh Lokapur, Jasmeet Singh, Unnati Baga, Komal Ahuja, and Vanshika Mehta as the moderator for the session. Welcome, Rishikesh. How are you?
I'm doing well, Anisha. How are you doing?
I'm absolutely fine. Jasmeet Singh is here as one of the panelists. Jasmeet, great to see you and welcome to Kolkata Media Conference. Vanshika is here. Vanshika Mehta is going to be the moderator for this beautiful session that we are going to have on creating a sustainable career with freelancing, something that every millennial will relate to and something that every millennial aspires to at the same time. So Vanshika is going to moderate the session. Unnati is here as one of the panelists. Welcome to the conference, Unnati. And Komal is here as one of the panelists as well. An extremely millennial crew that we have here amongst us today. And since most of our attendees and most of the viewers are also from the millennial generation, I'm thinking and I'm presuming that this panel discussion is going to be highly, highly entertaining for all of us here and extremely aspiring at the same time to see you all interact and have a discussion amongst yourself. And of course, it's going to be a very informal discussion, I'm presuming. So it's going to be even be more interesting for us to see that and view that. Now, sir is here, Dr. Firoz Muhammad is here, and he, on behalf of Kolkata Media Conference, I would like to request you, sir, to share a few words with one of the most awaited panelists for the day. So if you could just share a few words with them.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. This is indeed one of the most awaited panel on creating a sustainable career with freelancing. And what I like most, and what I'm what I like most is the key word, sustainable career. So having a career is one, and sustaining that particular career is next. I, on behalf of NSHM Knowledge Campus, Kolkata, NSHM Knowledge Campus, NSHM School of Media and Communication, heartily welcome Vanshika Mehta. She is a brand storyteller and communication consultant for putting up such an interesting and such a forward-looking and such a powerful and such a millennial panel to discuss how to create a sustainable career with media freelancing. Vanshika, welcome, and thank you very much.
Thank you. It's my honor and pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanshika. It's great pleasure to have you. You know what? We want you all to keep coming to NSHM School of Media and Communication, and we will see how we associate, how we collaborate, and how we partner with one another. Komal, thank you very much for making to Kolkata Media Conference and making to this interesting and most timely panel discussion on creating a sustainable career with media freelancing. Komal, you are a freelance content writer and a copywriter. Let me also welcome Unnati Baga. She says she is organic growth specialist. अब मुझे सुनना है. अब मुझे उन्नति, thank you very much on behalf of NSHM School of Media and Communication, NSHM Knowledge Campus, Calcutta. It's an honor, Unnati, to have you as part of Kolkata Media Conference.
Same here.
Jasmeet, thank you very much. Jasmeet Singh, thank you very much. You are a freelance content writer and a storyteller. हम लोग कभी मिलते हैं, बैठ के थोड़ी बातें करेंगे. So Jasmeet, thank you very much for accepting our invitation accepting Vanshika's invitation to part of this particular panel. Thank you very much. And we also have Rishikesh. Rishikesh is an independent creative consultant. Rishikesh, please think of conducting few workshops for our students of NSHM School of Media and Communication.
Absolutely.
Rishikesh, thank you very, very much for being part of this interesting and most timely panel on creating sustainable career with media freelancing. So I will not take much time, and I pass on the baton to Vanshika. Vanshika.
Thank you so much for that, Dr. Feroz. Such a lovely intro. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
it is an absolute honor and pleasure to be here with you with this beautiful event and all my friends. I mean, thank you all for joining again from my side. So
God
I know
bless you all. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. I know a lot of people here are waiting to get to the juicy part in case, let's kind of break down freelancing, understand what it is, and like Dr. Feroz said, understand how to make it into a sustainable career. So I think, the first step is obviously for a lot of people that I've heard, freelancing happens. And I'm sure each of us have a story behind it. So let's start with Jasmeet. Jasmeet, tell us a little bit about how did you learn about freelancing? Matlab, kahan se suna and how did you get started?
Thank you, Vanshika, for inviting us for this panel, and thank you, Dr. Feroz, for the lovely introduction. For me, freelancing, as you said, it just happened to me. Like, I was not planning to get into freelancing because I'm a BCom graduate. I would say a BCom topper from my college, from the university, and I want to, go into audit firm. But unfortunately, I didn't get a job into that because of some things. And then I just simply opened LinkedIn one fine day, and I thought, okay, I also like writing. Let me write on this platform. And in 1 month, actually, someone reached out to me saying, hey, can you write for me? So I was like, are you sure? Like, first of all, I was like, are you sure you want to pay me? Like, I don't think so. I deserve a pay for this thing. And he was like, no. So actually, that person was very kind enough. So he actually introduced me to every, thing. And he told that this is called freelancing. That how I came into this freelancing thing. And it's been 12 months now, and I'm enjoying the process, and it's going great. And now I don't think so I need to go into job thing, because I think I'm quite making a mark and I'm enjoying everything out there.
That's lovely. I think, when you enjoy what you do, it just kind of falls together in place and you're like, this is it, you found your calling. Komal, tell us about how did you get into freelancing and are you enjoying? What's the latest status of freelancing?
So, even I was an accidental freelancer, but before writing, I was already freelancing as a choreographer. So I was choreographing for weddings and everything with the company, but I didn't know that writing and the digital media had so much potential. So one fine day I was bored and I opened LinkedIn, made an account and just, attended a bunch of webinars and workshops and just try to understand what goes on the platform and how it happens, because it's extremely different from Instagram and Facebook and everything. So I started exploring the platform, suddenly started creating content, and within a week I got an offer from a very kind guy who asked me to write some articles and everything, and I was like, okay, so that's also something I can do. So I started doing, and so when I look back, I think the journey has been super, and even though it was accidental, I'm so glad it happened, because otherwise I wouldn't have been here talking to you amazing people and invited by such an amazing college, a great event, guys. Kudos to you guys. And it's been a journey, it's been a roller coaster ride, and I'm so glad for it.
That's awesome. Unnati, tell us about freelancing. How did you get into it? And also to answer Dr. Feroz's questions, the organic growth specialist hota kya hai?
All right. So first of all, Vanshika, thank you so much for inviting me. and amazing work till now. I've been looking at the presentations that have been going till now, and they are really super informative. So I think all of us had something to learn, and we have a lot to learn from each other as well. Now, starting with what is organic growth specialist, the first thing is when I came up with the term, because this is not a job title like a CEO or something, the only thing was I was apprehensive of running ads, right? And I thought anything which is not a part of ads is organic, and I'll do that. So I started leveraging YouTube, Quora, Reddit. I started doing ORM for a couple of companies, which made me realize the power of not investing a lot of money and then also getting ROI or traffic. At least the top of the funnel traffic can be garnered because of these organic growth strategies. And that's where the term was coined, and has got me plenty of leads just because of the title that I carry. Makes people inquisitive to sort of chat with me, has worked really well for my business. I think that's the first showcase of how I want to write and represent myself. So that's that. And now coming to the freelancing journey. So I was out of the college in 2017, and I joined a company as a business development executive. Made me realize that I cannot crack a lot of deals if I don't go to networking events. So I went to one of the networking events only to realize that somebody came to me and said, okay, you're speaking well, probably you can write well. And she offered me a gig at 20 paise per word. I made 10,000 that month, but that made me leave my job as a business development person and start freelancing as a full-time thing. I then joined an agency to garner some more experience, and then freelancing just happened. I'm also an accidental freelancer, and this was really random. But when it came, I remember, so one thing that I want to share is I was sitting with my first boss, who told me that you're looking at the very small side of the picture, because content writing will pay you like 20 paise, 50 paise, 1 rupees, and business development, on the other hand, if you close a deal, will give you lakhs. And while I was sitting in front of him giving my letter of resignation, I started crying and thinking that, okay, I made the wrong decision. But I think it was the best decision. I'm not sure if the company has shut or not, but my business is still running. So nothing is small in that matter when it comes to freelancing, and you have an open ocean of opportunities. I think it has all worked for us really well and will work for everybody listening. So yeah, that's the journey.
Awesome. And Rishikesh, last, but wanted to pick you last, especially because I wanted to congratulate you. I saw that you won an award, your company won an award today. So congrats for that. And tell us about the journey from zero to where we are today.
Right. So, guys, thank you for having us over. I'm not going to get into a lot of formalities because I know you guys love us. We love you back. So let's keep the formalities for the last thing. And I am surprised to see everyone around me. I'm surrounded by accidental freelancers, but I am absolutely not an accidental freelancer. I happen to become incidental freelancer, which means it was a planned move. And I don't consider myself as a freelancer. I am more of a glorified freelancer, which is why I call myself a consultant, right? Just to get into the story, I just like Jasmeet, I got into BCom even after getting good marks, like 90% back then. And this back then is like 15 years back. So everyone used to get into the science stream, but I thought I'll get into commerce because I wanted to do theater. Don't ask why, but I wanted to do that. While performing, I was also studying for my CA exams. I cleared 2 years of CA, was doing my articles in the Big Four, one of the Big Four organizations in Mumbai. And I got a scholarship from British Library. And they said, we will fund your education either in the UK or the US. So pound was kind of heavier even back then than the dollar. So I said, I'll go to London, study there, finished my CA in the UK, got into wealth management, worked as an investment banker for a few years, watched Swadesh, came back to India. Again, don't ask why, but that happened. And when I came back to India, I understood that to light a bulb, you need to be a scientist. I am BCom, so I cannot light a bulb unless I have electricity. So I started writing about that. So I thought if I knew writing, that is the profession I want to do here. If I watch Swadesh and I've come back, otherwise it will be a big kind of a setback. So I got into advertising agencies. 4 to 5 years down the line, I thought if I work with one agency, I can kind of develop just one point of view, but I wanted to understand different points of views here. So I thought the best way to do that is get into consulting, where I can work with multiple agencies at the same time, uh, get my account credited almost every day, and work for like 3 to 4 hours a day. And luckily, I am kind of living that perfect life right now. So everyone who's a jealous, please get into chat and please talk to us, because we don't want to be speaking to laptop screens. We want to speak to real people here, right? So that's my long story short, Vanchika.
Love it. Love it. What a lovely journey. Jaspreet, I had a question for you because you seem to have a very interesting journey. So, the first couple of months that you set up, be it a business or as a freelancer, there is a very steep learning curve that happens. This in freelancing, there's not really a book that you can go to, or like YouTube videos se kuch pata nahi chalega aapko. So can you tell us a little bit about what your first like 3 months looked like? How did you kind of find your first client? And how was the journey? I mean, what were you feeling at that time?
So like you said, like there is no such book called freelancing guide. अगर होती तो शायद आज इंडिया में बहुत सारे और freelancers होते. I think ये question कल ही आया था. Like other day, someone asked me on LinkedIn, is there a course for freelancing? And I'm like, I'm wondering if marketers are making a course on freelancing. Maybe someone can make a course, but for me, like the 3 months were totally different because my journey has been a very different from everyone. I had like I was going through a lot in my personal life at that point of time. For me to make a mark for myself at that time was very important, and freelancing was the only option that was left for me. And I thought, now I will give my best. And when the person reached out to me, and I was like, okay. So till then, I knew nothing about this industry, like how to make a contract, invoice, taxation, nothing about this. Like a totally newbie, I didn't even know what is the per word strategy or per hour strategy, nothing like that. But when the person reached out to me, he actually explained me everything out there, and then I started researching. And like you were the one of the like early persons with whom I reached out to, like involving other people. Like I messaged Komal, then we reached out to other people, and slowly and steadily, uh, I learned a lot from others. Like it was more of observation journey. Like I was observing from others, like how they dealt with what problems they actually faced in their initial part. For me, the main thing was to make a mark for myself. That was my only concern. Money was not that much a concern, but the concern was to make a mark and to prove myself that I'm not only a studious kid. I can be someone as creative as anyone can. So for me, it was a very personal experience. And today, to talk about this, because I know there are a lot of college students who are actually watching us, and they can totally relate to this, because when you are a college student, a lot of pressure has been put on you by so-called people in your life that you have to get a good paycheck and a decent job. And Komal also knew this, to come from a choreographed thing and to step into freelance. It's a whole new world to be. So that was my only journey and my only struggle to make a mark. And yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. I mean, I think the first 3 months, agar you figure it out and, go through the basics, I think there's a lot of learning that you have to do yourself. But once you have that set, you're pretty sorted. I think, the formation, agar theek ho jaye, like, it's like building a building na. Agar structure theek hai, to baki building rahega, it won't fall. So very interesting insights. Yeah, thanks for that. Rishikesh, I have an interesting question to ask you, because I've heard you have a very vibrant portfolio. And this is the first roadblock, because पहला client मिलने से पहले वो लोग portfolio पूछते हैं. And even after, I mean, as long as you're pitching to clients, they'll keep asking you for this. So can you share like 3 to 5 tips for people who maybe are just starting out? Like, what are the things they should put in their portfolio? How should they think about a portfolio? And any guidance you'd like to share?
I don't have a guidance as of such because everyone has their own journey. So people eventually understand what's right, what's not right for them. But until you have a portfolio, you yourself are your portfolio. So people forget to understand this personal branding aspect of their side. And personal branding is not sitting with Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and taking selfies. That is Mr. Bachchan's branding. It will be the other way when Mr. Bachchan comes to you and takes a selfie and tags you in his picture, right? So eventually that should be your objective. But until you have your portfolio, you start building or you talk about your values to the people, right? Because if you call yourself a writer and you go on LinkedIn, every other person you meet on LinkedIn at least is a writer, right? The new term is storyteller, sorry. So people are calling themselves storytellers in every possible angle that they can think of. So don't call yourself a writer in a way because that is not your branding. Talk about the values that you will bring as a writer because people connect to those values. That is first thing. That is how you get your first client. That is how I personally got my first client as a consultant as well, because I was trying to fill the gaps. I kind of knew where the gaps were. I was reading, I was keeping all my senses open, and I started filling those gaps. And initially, I got to work with one agency, then a few agencies, then a few agencies from other city, other state. And today, I'm working with multiple agencies from different countries, right? So those things happen. And once you get your first client, make sure that client you kind of retain till you get the next 5 clients at least, because that person is your bread and butter, that person is your sounding board, that person is the one who's going to talk about you, he's going to refer you, and they're going to get you more clients. So it all starts from one, but you shouldn't stop on one, you should keep growing. Vanshika, I hope I answered that.
Yes, very beautifully said, and
Thank you.
very interesting perspective on the portfolio part. I would just like to add one more thing. A lot of times people think portfolios, when they're creating it to kind of put everything together. But I have one advice: is please don't cram your portfolio up. Like literally, just put the best work. Your portfolio isn't meant to be everything and anything. But go for it, Rishikesh.
Right. I just wanted to add to what Vanshika was saying. Usually, what happens is if you're working with two clients of the same industry, they consider it as competition.
Yes.
So usually, you're not allowed to work for this their competitor. But if you work for 4 clients of the same industry, they'll consider you as an expert and they'll come looking for you. So don't keep the goal of 2. Always keep the goal of 4 clients from the same industry.
Very smart. Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. So yeah, absolutely. Very, very good point. I think one of the things that I personally struggled with a lot when I became a freelancer was that I used to work a lot. A lot means matlab, when you're working at home or working from a coffee shop, you don't have a concept of time. You're either working or you're sourcing clients or you're doing paperwork or you're doing something, तो पूरा दिन ही निकल जाता था. And it took me a lot of internal training to be like, at 7 o'clock I'm going to shut my laptop no matter what. And I think this is a huge thing, especially now in this COVID era, because because of COVID, everybody's working at home, everybody's always on WhatsApp, email, Slack, so the work life boundaries are very, very blurred. So I'd like to ask Komal, how do you manage your time and how do you set those boundaries for yourself? Because I think if you start on the wrong footing, then you're just going to overwork and burn. So yeah, please do share with us, how do you kind of manage your day, manage time overall, and set those boundaries so you're not overworking and exhausting yourself?
I think there's a common misconception that freelancers are constantly working 24/7 and on weekends and on national holidays, and that's absolutely not the case. You do have a personal life, and I think that's one of the things that I gave into in the beginning as well. I was working 9 to 10 hours, exhausting myself. If I was not working, I was reading about how to work better, and it was just so exhausting and overwhelming that I thought that freelancing is not for me. I'm good for a 9 to 5 job. But then again, when you realize that time can be managed better, all of the things just settle right into place. So I think first of all, if you are freelancing, then you need to define your boundaries, define when you're going to take calls, define when you're going to email, do your marketing, do your invoices, talk to clients, schedule meetings and everything. Because without all of that, it just gets very messy, and the quality of work gets affected, your quality of life gets affected, and your personal time sort of dwindles in between, and you have no sense of what day it is. It was actually a time when I think I was in the first 2 months of my freelancing journey, and I didn't know what day it was, what date it was. It was so blurry for me. But then I think it all depends on how you manage it. So starting from there, I started managing a to-do list, a Trello board, and all of those tools that help you manage productivity better. But now that I look back, and even now, I don't need a to-do list. It's like all in my head, and I think that you get used to all that sort of things, that you have to do this, you have to do this. It all just kind of, gets in your mind, and you're doing all of that. You're noting down important things. It just gets very organized as you go ahead. But definitely, if you're starting out, overwhelming yourself, or working all the time is not the way to go about it. And if you're doing that, you're definitely going to leave freelancing, because that's not how it should be done. So for managing time, definitely define your work boundaries. That's also important. Like you said, if you decide to shut off work at 7 o'clock, don't work till 7:01 even. Just shut off your work at 7 p.m. and tell your clients not to call you after that period, or not to email you. Don't respond to emails. Don't market yourself. Nothing will happen, because that's so important to understand. Because I think towards the beginning, you get so obsessed with it. You have to market yourself, you have to get more clients, you have to post on LinkedIn, you have to upskill yourself. It all gets very overwhelming, and in the process, you forget to embrace the journey above all. So I think that's really, really important when it comes to that. And so I think without stressing too much, just try to embrace the journey. And even if you're failing, just make sure that you're failing forward and not backwards. So I think that's really important that way. And managing time is just about, it's in your head. So just tell yourself that ye karna hai, aur is time pe karna hai. And minimize all distractions. Shut off your phone, put it on airplane mode, communicate through emails. That's all fine, and that can be managed, I think, without exaggerating it a bit and everything. So I think it's all manageable once you try to calm down. So I think that's the key.
Yeah, totally. Some lovely points. I mean, like Komal said, please start using the tools that are available. Use Trello, use a normal calendar. Like, for example, I'm a very calendar driven person. If it is not on my calendar, it is not happening. Either I will forget, or I'll get busy and I'll forget. One of the two will happen. So I think it's just that mind shift change. And like Komal says, and like, I'm totally for the fact that like 7 o'clock means 7 o'clock band, like no work after that. And it's important to mentally shut off and disconnect from any devices and forget that work happens. You can pick it up tomorrow. Very good points, Komal. Unnati, I have a question for you, since you told us this very interesting story about how you quit your job and you went back and gave the resignation. At the end of the day, we're all working, and we're working for money, right? Like, that's just the fact, right? Like, all of us need all the lovely things we need to live, and we also have a lot of fancy things we want to buy. I know some freelancers that are making a lot of money and are doing absolutely great and are killing it. And then there are also some who are just kind of starting out, and obviously the beginning is the toughest. I think I've been doing this for 10 months, and like, I've still not gotten over that money fear that I have. So what do you have to say about money? Like, how do you how do you kind of build sort of financial stability with freelancing, and how do you ensure that you can obviously afford the essentials, but then also afford the nice things which you should not be deprived of? So if you can share some tips and tricks on that, that will be awesome.
Absolutely. So thank you for the question. The first thing is, I started full-time freelancing in March. So since March, in March, I was at zero bank balance. Now it has turned into a 6-figure freelancing business, and now I want to make it multiple. I'm trying to invest in products, courses, stuff like that. But the only thing that I've learned is, you also have 24 hours in a day, and the other person who is doing 10 times you also has 24 hours. So what differentiates you is, first, your experience, because then you charge more, and second is how well you can automate things for yourself. one thing that I learned is I was working 7 hours back then. I'm working 7 hours now, and I'm earning thrice that I was earning 2 months back, only because I could automate stuff and delegate stuff. Right. So we all get into that bandwidth issue. We all have, as freelancers, we reach a point jahan hame pata hai ki we can't take projects beyond this. So then how do we go forward is when we delegate it to somebody else, or we automate stuff, we schedule stuff, we use those tools that are of $15-20 to make more money on them, right? So from starting from zero bank balance to 6 figures in a month, it has taught me that the first I was upskilling continuously. I said I was apprehensive of ads, and now I am having 3 clients which are paying me for ads. So I think that apprehension went away once I started doing it. I started upskilling myself, so now it comes as a package. So as my portfolio increases, my package increases, so does my commercials. That's one. And second, automation and delegation can go a long way, and probably that's how you, so there's one step that you come from a job to freelancing, and that's the second is from freelancing you form either an agency or a team, or you hire somebody, or you, that's the next step. So I think starting of the step and the ending of the step is where you are at zero money or a lot of money, but bandwidth issues you have to manage your skills. That's it. I think there's no rocket science. People will still trust you even if you have a team. If you were doing it alone and you're doing it so amazingly, if you have 10 more hands to do it with you, you'll still do it amazingly. So I think get out of this mindset कि मुझे सब कुछ खुद करना है. Let other people do it for you, hire interns, stuff like that. So yeah, I think that's how you multiply your income.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I mean, freelancing is a very, very good stepping stone. I mean, we've heard about so many agencies being set up of people who started freelancing. Maza aaya, ek client mila, dusra client mila, and now they're like, 200 people, 500 people big, and
Exactly.
it's totally possible. It's totally possible. Yeah. I mean, it's not even not realistic. It's so possible in 2020. Which I think gets me to a very interesting question. We'll go turn by turn, but let's start with Rishikesh. If you had to kind of list down the top 1 or 2 skills that every freelancer must have, like to be successful, what would those skills be according to you?
First thing is time management, because like Komal was saying, there is no end to what we can do. But if there is no end to what you will do, you will end eventually, right? So don't do that. Just to add to what Komal was saying, and just to make everyone jealous on all the attendees, I work for 3 to 4 hours a day only. And I don't want to get into my bank balance, because otherwise few people will start crying, including me, because mere khushi ke aasu honge. But it is possible, guys. And I am not a scientist. I am not a PhD. I am nothing of those sorts. I just use my brains. I just create a few campaigns, few ideations, few films, few copies. I always have a pencil in my hand. There's a paper lying somewhere, and I quickly write down whatever comes to my mind. So it's the other way. You have a solution. You need to find a question that will pay you for it. Okay. So that is one, time management. And second is knowing which gap you can fill. So these 2 things will always keep you on the top.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they always help you to kill the competition, because nobody is doing this apart from all the attendees that will start doing it from tomorrow.
Yeah, I think opportunity hunting is a definite skill you need to have.
Absolutely.
Because nobody's going to come with the silver tray and be like, "Ye project le lo, please." Like, very rarely does it happen. So totally, yeah, I'm with you on that. Jasmeet, what are your 1 or 2 top skills that you think everybody must have?
I think, like Rishikesh said, time management is the first thing. And the second thing, which I consider the very important, is upskilling. Like, if you are a content writer, you need to upskill yourself with time, and you need to change your strategy, because in the coming years, when artificial intelligence will come up and the proper implementation will be done, you need to think upon that part, like how writing industry will survive. So if you are a freelancer, you have to think for the future also. So upskilling, one thing. And the second thing is market yourself. Like, I know many people don't market themselves. They are just writing on different platforms, but they don't know how to market themselves. And then they complain, we are not getting clients, we are not getting leads out of it, and we are not making money. So these two skills I consider the most important. And in my journey, I am trying to use both the things, like upskilling myself daily. I'm reading, I'm watching videos on YouTube, listening podcasts. Like I love listening podcasts. And the second thing is marketing, and by marketing I'm doing everything like meeting new people and not actually selling myself, but trying to be a solution provider to them, and in a very honest way, not like a different kind of a thing. Yeah.
That's awesome. Komal, what do you say?
I agree with both Rishikesh and Jasmeet, and time management is so, so important. And I just spoke a few words about it. Adding on to that, I think communication is extremely important, because if you cannot communicate your value proposition or what you're offering, it, even if you're the best writer in the world, it won't make a difference, because you can't communicate what you're doing, how you're doing, and what makes you different from the pool of other people. And that is why, in fact, with freelancing, there are a lot of other things like negotiation, persuasion. So I think the key to all of that comes to how you communicate with, other freelancers, with clients, with whoever you meet, and it's so, so important. And apart from that, like Jasmeet said, marketing, and I totally agree with that. I think one person a lot of people come up to and say that I'm experimenting with things all the time, with marketing, with Instagram, with LinkedIn, Quora. I'm doing one thing or the other to market myself the right way. And actually, I love exploring that. So I think that's one thing, marketing and communication, that is so, so important, because it's not only important as a foundational thing as a freelancer, but also when you move forward, you try so many other things that it becomes a part of your life. And then it's so important while you're reaching out to people and you're pitching out to them, it just becomes an automatic thing, because you have a personal brand for yourself, you're marketing yourself the right way, you don't have to look for people, you position yourself in a way where you're right in front of your target audience, and it's not that difficult then. But it's a journey and you've got to embrace it. But communication and marketing above all for me. So I think, yeah.
I would totally agree with what you said. I mean, just doing things but not being able to communicate what you actually do best is a huge problem. And yeah, if you can solve for that, I think you've at least started to hit the nail on the head. So very, very valid point. Unnati, what are your top one or two things that you feel every freelancer should know or have?
I think as freelancers, there's a mindset wherein we think ki jitna we can earn, we should earn, but we forget to invest. Now that investment can be in terms of time, that can be in terms of courses, that can be in terms of hiring somebody, anything. But you need to invest from day one in order to reap the benefits. Like you can't just look at some XYZ with 50,000 followers saying that she gets everything on her plate. That's not the case. She must have been investing some time, energy, resources into something. So I think one thing as a freelancer is you have to let go of the chindi mindset that I just want to get everything inside. You have to invest, let your money flow out. Like I think the best thing that my mentor told me while I was learning ads was, I said, which course should I go for? It's like, how much do you want to invest in the course? I said 20,000. Like, okay, take a product, run ads on it, burn that 20,000. You learn like nobody can learn, and that really helped me. So I think one thing that all freelancers have to understand is they have to invest in themselves. And of course, I would agree with Jasmeet, when it comes to upskilling, there is nothing that can beat that. You need to upskill. I think when you go at the hard cheese ka whatever we are doing, there is an element wherein we write, right? We all of us write, but we have different ways to say it. I say it as organic growth specialist. Vanshika mentions it as storytelling. So we add our own things, we learn our own things, and then we upskill and sell that skill. And we can upsell that skill once we upskill, if that makes sense, right? So yeah, like that came out to be a tongue twister, but two things very imperative: invest and upskill.
Very rightly said. I mean, I think so, such lovely points. I'll just add one last point. I think that everybody must have as a skill is the ability to set expectations correctly. And this is where a lot of freelancers struggle. I did. I mean, I till today struggle, because if you don't communicate what you are, say, for example, like if I've gotten, say, something which I need to write, if I can communicate my expectations upfront and in a very crisp manner, the other party will expect कि यार ये 2 घंटे का काम है 2 घंटे में दे देगी. So expectation setting in freelancing is a huge skill, and it's one that you need to keep polishing if you're going to grow bigger, succeed, grow a team. So on that note, Rishikesh, now that I ended with the word team, let's continue the conversation on that. And Onati, I think, also touched on this point of actually growing a team, getting people involved, building more people so that you can grow your business and have, multi-skills amongst you all. So tell us about, the journey. I mean, how do you know when to start doing it, and how do you know kisko hire karna chahiye pehle? So if you have any tips and tricks.
Yes, if you don't have the skill yourself, you hire people and you get the job done, because it's your image that is at stake at the end, because people have approached you. I mean, looking at you, looking at what your branding you have been doing, looking at your profile, people have approached you and they want you to deliver the way you deliver. But if you don't have the skill, you should either have the guts to say no, but in these desperate times, people usually don't do that. So the other option is to hire people who have the skills, make sure they do the work and then deliver. So that's one. And that's basically called contracting. So it's kind of an expansion of freelancing and consulting, is where you hire a team for a project for a certain number of days or months or years, and you make money on them. And believe me, guys, there's a lot of money in that. Few of the projects where I am kind of a contractor. So contractor is not just one who takes daily wage workers, puts them in a tempo and takes them to a construction site. Even this is contracting. And you can actually make money. If I have to add a few percentages, I have close to 120% markup on a contracting job that I'm doing. So now you can put your imagination to test and give me an answer later, how much that 120% would be.
Yeah, I think you've raised some interesting points. First was, if you can't do it, hire someone and still get the project done. So that go-getter attitude is absolutely necessary in freelancing. You have to, sorry to put the term and the stereotype, but you have to be a hustler to be able to make it. You have to find it whether by jugaad or by something. Kaam karna hai to karna hai aur अच्छे से करना है. So totally with you on that. Fun fact, I don't know how many people here know or how many people read up about us, but we all met on LinkedIn, and we all swear on LinkedIn as like a very strong channel to build a brand, build a business, and obviously market ourselves, build a personal brand. So all of us use it for very different things. I mean, at the end of the day, we all say have a set 5 or 6 things that we all do, but other than that, there are so many things you can do on this channel. And it's a very strong channel to even just start freelancing. If you are freelancing, just put it up on your LinkedIn, try and build up that story, and you're pretty much ready to go. So I would love to ask Jasmeet to begin. Tell us some insider tips and tricks jo LinkedIn pe nahi milega, but you do to generate business as a freelancer. Do share some of your tips.
आई थिंक जब कोई टिप्स पूछता है ना, बहुत डिफिकल्ट हो जाता है आई थिंक कुछ भी बताना, क्योंकि फिर ना लोगों को लगता है कि यही फॉलो कर लो और यही चलेगा. तो जैसे लाइक ऋषिकेश सेड कि एवरीवन हैज देयर ओन जुगाड्स एंड ट्रिक्स एंड एनीथिंग. फॉर मी व्हाट वर्क्स इज माय ऑनेस्टी एंड माय content. Like whatever I am putting out on LinkedIn, I need to be honest with that work. And it doesn't mean like अगर आज नहीं मन है तो मत करो. अगर आज मन है तो वो आएगा, तो वो तभी लोगों से कनेक्ट करेगा, एंड पीपल विल अप्रोच यू. बिकॉज there are times when I have written content and people actually reach out to me saying, hey, I read your story on LinkedIn and that somehow related to me, would you like to work for me? That's it. Like the honesty policy which I follow in my life, that works for me. The next thing is networking properly. Like many people don't network properly on LinkedIn. They're just getting followers and not network. So I always believe network is very important. If you are connecting with someone, least you can do is have a one-on-one conversation with them, like we do with each other. Like you can just normally introduce yourself to the person, and you can know about their business and you can tell about your business, and that's how the things begin. And the next thing is consistency. You need to be consistent if you are a freelancer or if you are into content creation industry. Like if you are not consistent enough and if you are thinking कि यार एक हफ्ते में यार प्रोजेक्ट भी मिल जाएगा, एक हफ्ते में फॉलोअर्स भी मिल जाएंगे, तो वो तो नहीं होने वाला. यू नीड टू गिव योर सेल्फ 3 to 4 months कंसिस्टेंटली, एंड देन ऑल्सो फिर टास्क क्या होता है कि फिर यू हैव टू मेंटेन दैट कंसिस्टेंसी, क्योंकि वो कभी कभी ना आप बहुत उसमें हो जाते हो लेट बैक एटीट्यूड में कि यार अब तो हो गया ना, अब तो फॉलोअर्स भी हैं, अब तो बिजनेस भी आएगा, बट वो कंसिस्टेंसी मेंटेन करनी पड़ती है. सो आई थिंक दीज आर सर्टेन थिंग्स जो मैं बहुत फॉलो करता हूँ.
Totally.
I am extremely sorry to interrupt, but I couldn't stop myself, after being involved with this conversation in the last 1 hour or so. I was very deeply involved, and you all are extremely inspiring. That's the first thing I want to say. It gives me a legit FOMO to think about the fact that you guys are aspiring and achieving so much in such a young age. I think that's a very intimidating thing to see and hear. I'm going to be very brutally honest about that. And I think you guys, all of you, your journey you had so far in so many, less time span is extremely commendable. But, if I had to ask you all one query, that would be the fact that, you all had your highs and you all had your lows with this journey as an entrepreneur. But if you had to say if it was worth it or not on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you rate it?
11.
11? All of you? 11? And
100.
100. Then I think, this is what commences the whole conversation. This is what the conversation has been all about. At the end of the day, is the fact that, despite all the struggles, despite everything that you guys are talking about, it's worth it at the end of the day. And I think if you guys at such a young age, after despite everything that you had to sacrifice and compromise at such a young age, and you still find it worth it, then I think that's enough for other people to understand that the journey will be worth it. And although I think many of the attendees that we have could be older to you, I'm presuming most of them are older to you since you all are so young. But I think one of the very few things that they would take away from this conversation would be the fact that it's never too late to start. And if such is the drive and such is worth the wait and such is worth the journey, then always worth taking up the risk that comes along with it, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you so very much. And on a personal note, this is my biased opinion is that I would love to extend this conversation informally beyond this conference because I am someone who is already looking up to you guys. So for me, this would be a very biased, selfish request to make, but I will make it nevertheless. And that is that I would love to extend this conversation over a cup of coffee beyond this conference. So if you all guys agree to it, I'm hoping that I am worthy of your time and your involvement in this conversation. So we can take it forward someday and you guys can inspire me just a little bit more so that even I get the push and I get the drive to go beyond the desk job and think about a life beyond this as well and be inspired to go on a path as good as you all are and achieve just 10% of what you all are doing. And I think it's not just about entrepreneurship, it's also about the professional journey at the end and making it worth every second of it. Thank you so much for coming here. And you guys were truly the representatives of all our attendees because you were the millennial superstars of this conference. So you guys coming here, interacting, and inspiring the many, I'm sure have had the maximum impact on the attendees who are mostly students and scholars. Thank you so much for coming here today and being a part of this conference. I'm blabbing, but thank you for coming here and being a part of the conference. On behalf of the team, I would really, really like to extend my heartiest gratitude to all of you for coming here and interacting, and also specifically for interacting in such a informal way that made us all feel way more connected with the conversation. Thank you so much. We'll all lost track of time, but I think it was really, really worthy, and that really proves that every second of your conversation was almost like a coffee house adda because we are all deeply involved with it. And thank you so much again. And please do take care and stay safe. And I hope you will keep my personal request of giving me some time beyond this conference and being in touch with me. Thank you so much, Rishikesh, Jasmeet, Vanshika, Unnati, Komal. You all were amazing and phenomenal. Thank you. Thank you so much. Bye
Thank
bye.
Thank you.
Thank you guys. Take care.
Bye bye. Take care.
Take care.
On that note, we are going to commence for a short high tea break. And post this high tea break, we will be joined by our speakers, Fatima Hussain, followed by our paper presenters for the day. And for the last day of the conference, before we commence for the closing gala evening ceremony tomorrow evening, and that will be live on Facebook and YouTube, will be followed by few paper presenters, after which we will be going ahead with our panel discussion with Rajiv Nandi. And from Chittagong University, from the second time in our Kolkata Media Conference. On that note, I'm going to take a very small break for a few minutes because I do understand that it has been going on since the morning, and I think we all deserve a little bit of lunch come high tea break. I do not know what exactly it is called, but you get the drill. So I'm pretty sure you are going to go there, grab some coffee, grab a cup of coffee, have some snacks, relax a little, take a little bit of breather before we commence with the second half of the session of Kolkata Media Conference, day 4 of the event. Myself, Anisha Rai, the host for the evening, and it has been a humbling experience to be able to host the scholars and academicians from across the globe at Kolkata Media Conference. Wrapping up for now, we'll be back in a few minutes. Take care and stay safe.